Hey everybody, we're about to go live. Hope you enjoy today's show. Here's the opening disclaimer: not to rely on this advice without consulting your own.
Don't rely on a thing we say.
That's right. Don't rely on a thing we say without consulting your own attorney.
Right.
That's right. All right, here we go.
The only show dedicated to your elder care concerns and your resource for learning about how to manage your health, housing, financial, and legal needs. This is a live call-in program featuring John Ross and Lisa Schulmeyer, elder law attorneys and senior advocates for the Art LaTex.
And of course, if anybody does call in, you on Facebook will not be able to hear
challenges and blessing of
so we'll try to repeat
So call in and ask your
repeat
questions.
whatever it is
The
that they
number
say.
is 903-793-1071.
Here we go.
Now here are your hosts, John Ross and Lisa Schulmeyer.
Well, welcome to Aging Insight, everybody. This is your host, John Ross, here live in the studio with my mostly faithfully attending co-host.
Is that a dig from last week?
It is a dig from last week.
Hey, I had to be out of town. It was, it was parental requirements.
Yes. Well,
go, lay up at a 4-star hotel with a bunch of other, moms of college students and say we're doing productive things for them.
That's right. Yeah. So you're back from Aggie Moms Camp.
Yeah, that's right. Aggie Moms Camp. It's a thing.
Yes, it is. And you're back in the studio with us today, and you are listening to Aging Insight, the #1 show related to your health, housing, financial, and legal needs. And, we get on here, we talk about all kinds of stuff that we find interesting and we think you will find interesting and maybe even learn a little something about along the way. And, of course, the show, we couldn't do it without our sponsors.
That's right. So our sponsors, we appreciate Red River Federal Credit Union and the Barnett Agency, Texarkana Funeral Home, Calhoun Creek Estates, and Reunion Plaza, Heritage Plaza.
Dixon Memorial Hospice.
Yes. Oh, I've got news there.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, no, I think we're going to partner with Derrickson and help sponsor the Senior Day in May.
Oh, fun.
So coming up down the road, and the Senior Day in the park. So it's going to be fun.
That's right. Yeah, no, I mean, of course, Lisa and I always have all kinds of stuff going on, out there giving speeches and stuff like that. This week coming up is our law school lunch that we do over at the Texarkana Convention Center.
Yeah, and I actually had some confusion on this, John, so I want to clear this up. Law school lunch, it's not for lawyers. It's for community members. So, this is your opportunity to go get a little dose of law school, to learn something. And so it's for community to come out and get some education.
Yeah.
And, hey, we won't call on you and make you stand up the way they do in law school.
That's right. And I believe I had to look down to see what the topic is, but apparently I'm going to be talking about how to draft your own will.
Yeah, I figure it'll be a very well attended program.
Yeah, so that's at Texarkana Convention Center. That's at noon on Thursday this week.
Yes.
And so what you can do if you would like to attend, we provide a free lunch to you, not free to everybody else.
That's right. We have to know you're coming because, we got to prepare. We got to know, or else we'll run out of food and then you'll be mad.
That's right. I mean, I'm going to be slaving away back there in the kitchen, and I got to know how many plates to serve. So what you can do, one of the easiest ways to do it is to get on Facebook, go to the Ross and Schulmeyer page. Now, if you're already on Facebook, whatever, you know what, just get on there, go to the Ross and Schulmeyer page. You can go under events and you see all the events that we've got coming up. You can click on that one. There's a little place where it says get tickets, and you just click on that. Let us know how many people you're coming. But while you're on the Ross and Schulmeyer Facebook page, be sure to follow the page.
Yeah, because we make announcements and.
That's right. Not just like it. The way this whole stupid Facebook thing works is you can give it a thumbs up. That's great. But that doesn't necessarily let you know when we got stuff going on. But if you click the little button and say follow, then when we do things like today where we're Facebook Live, so for the people that want to watch the radio,
yes,
then you're going to notice right there on Facebook that says, hey, Ross and Schollmeyer, they're going to go live. Check them out. When we post events, it'll pop up in your news feed and all of that. So get on to Facebook and check all that stuff.
Yeah, and we and John, we went over our sponsors, but I want to give a shout out to a particular sponsor this week. We certainly appreciate them sponsoring the show, but the other thing that we have a relationship with a lot of these sponsors, and so Thursday evening, I had a family that had some questions that really needed to be answered, and it had to do with funeral purchases and some things like that. And I sent an email over to Texarkana Funeral Home, and it was very late. I mean, really after hours.
Yeah.
And I got an email back from the head guy in charge.
Oh, yeah.
I got an email back from Vickers Fuquay who said to call him and at my convenience, and he gave me his phone number, and I was able to call him, and he stepped out of a meeting that he was part of to answer my question, address this family's concerns so we could get that taken care of. And that's what I like.
Yeah, no, that's right.
So I just want to give a shout out to Vickers Fuquay and Texarkana Funeral Home for being so responsive. And so I could get the answers from them that I could relay to the family that needed them, and all is well.
That's right. Okay, so we got an interesting topic today to cover, and this will lead us off into who knows where as we get to discussing about all of it. But there was a viral post on Facebook this week. It was a gentleman, and his name is Terry Robeson. And I've got if you're on the Facebook Live, you can see what Mr. Robeson looks like.
Okay. So
but I've got
picture?
I've got Terry Robeson's picture up there. But Terry, on February 7th, he made a post on Facebook that just went crazy.
Yeah. So Mr. Robeson, he kind of started off his Facebook post, said that there was not going to be a nursing home for he and his wife, that they had come up with an alternative plan. And he wrote a pretty long post about his alternative plan. But essentially, his plan was in retirement that when he and his wife couldn't stay in their home any longer, they would just move over into a Holiday Inn.
That's right. Yeah. So kind of an interesting thing. And this went viral. This went crazy. His post was shared about 150,000 times.
Yeah, that's definitely success viral social media posting right there.
Yeah, got all over the news. Lots of news stories picked it up. But I thought maybe I'd just start out by reading the post that he had put on there, just so you get the full breadth of
Yeah.
of what Mr. Robeson was talking about. He says no nursing homes for us. We will be checking in to a Holiday Inn. With the average cost for in nursing home care costing $188 per day, there is a better way when we get old and too feeble. I've already checked on reservations at the Holiday Inn. For a combined long-term stay discount and senior discount, it's going to cost $59.23 per night, breakfast included, and some have happy hours in the afternoon. That leaves $128.77 a day for lunch and dinner at any restaurant we want, or room service, laundry, gratuities, and special TV movies. Plus, they provide a spa, swimming pool, workout room, lounge, washer and dryer, etc. Most have free toothpaste and razors, and all have free shampoo and soap. $5 worth of tips a day, and you'll have the entire staff screaming to help you. They treat you like a customer, not a patient. There's a city bus stop out front, and seniors ride free. The handicap bus will also pick you up if you fake a decent limp. To meet other nice people, call a church bus on Sundays. For a change of scenery, take the airport shuttle bus and eat at one of the nice restaurants at the airport. While you're at the airport, fly somewhere. Otherwise, the cash keeps building up. It takes months to get into a decent nursing home. Holiday Inn will take your reservation today. And you're not stuck in one place forever. You can move from end to end or even from city to city. Want to see Hawaii? Well, they've got a Holiday Inn there too. TV broken, light bulb needs changing, need a mattress replaced? No problem. They fix everything and apologize for the inconvenience. The inn has a night security person, daily room service, maid checks to see if you're okay. If not, they'll call an ambulance or the undertaker. If you fall and break a hip, Medicare will pay for the hip, and Holiday Inn will upgrade you to a suite for the rest of your life. and no worries about visits from family. They will always be glad to find you and probably check in for a few days mini vacation. The grandkids can use the pool. What more can you ask for? So when I reach that golden age, I'll face it with a grin.
That was a very nice, little bit tongue-in-cheek post there for the gentleman staying there at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, but you know, it's an interesting thought. You know, and obviously it struck a chord with people.
Right. Yeah, it certainly did, since it was shared 150,000 times. And you know, there's some truth in his post. Of course, there's a little untruths in there as well, but you know, it's certainly, I appreciate Mr. Robeson there thinking about, you know, housing when he's a little bit older, because John, we have said many times that the need to change housing, often due to a health crisis or some, you know, physical incapacity, is the number one reason that causes financial issues. I mean, it just turns your whole life upside down when you have to change housing.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
So
and you know, the costs are extreme. You know, you know, Terry talks about it being $188 a day for nursing home care. I would say that's, at least in our Arklatex region, that's overshooting it a bit.
Yeah, just a little bit though.
But not by
I would
much.
say about 165, 170 is an average daily cost in our Arklatex area. Some less, of course.
Sure.
But you know, so yeah, he's thinking, you know, here we have, you know, you've got a room that's got climate control, bed, bathroom facilities, and of course, you know, the Holiday Inn even has handicap accessible rooms.
Yeah, sure,
You know,
absolutely.
Because I've made reservations at various hotels, and they'll tell me, oh, we're all booked up. We do have a handicap accessible room available if that's okay with you. And of course, I've actually had some of those rooms from time to time. And so, yeah, the doors are wider, the showers are no step over, you know, it's just entry. So the Holiday Inn's already thought of that. And,
Yeah,
you know,
no, that's right. They've got all of that, and I don't know about his. I didn't try to back up his research to determine whether or not the long-term stay
rate,
discount
yeah.
plus the senior discount on top of that would bring that price down to, what did he say, $59
Yeah, it's about
a night.
$60 a night. And of course, you know, John, I'm sure that maybe even if you could back into those numbers, I bet $60 a night might be for the Holiday Inn in Cleveland, but maybe not for the Holiday Inn in Honolulu.
That's almost assuredly
Yes.
true.
But you know, hey, so there's some things here where, you know, I like that he understands, hey, they throw in breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, so you got the continental breakfast, and if you've been to a Holiday Inn, John, you know, they have an automatic pancake maker. Have you seen this?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you literally go to the little counter at breakfast and you press a button and you tell the machine how many pancakes you want to make, and it whirs and
then pancakes come out.
and then pancakes come out on a conveyor belt. It is pretty cool.
Yes, and Lisa thinks this thing is so cool that she actually went so far as to look up and see about purchasing one for the home. They are prohibitively expensive for home use.
But you know, yeah, apparently. Anyway, it's fascinating. But the idea, though, is, yeah, you've got yogurt, fruit, milk, coffee, juice, pancakes, pastries, breakfast.
That's right. You've got breakfast, and so we're gonna keep talking about essentially the options for paying for care, and not just paying for care, but paying for your housing and your entertainment and that sort of thing as you progress through those retirement years, because you know. although Mr. Robeson here is somewhat joking, he ain't far off with his numbers and everything. So y'all stick around. We'll take a break. We'll come back in a second. All right. Appreciate y'all watching us on Facebook. And Mr. Burnett there, you are correct. It is Texas Independence Day. And so, yes, as I was digging out shirts for something to wear, I figured go with the Texas flag skull. So, yeah.
I have the outsized Texas.
Yes. So, yeah, we're all Texas today. For Texas Independence Day, which apparently is not actually a state holiday, according to the internet.
Although I did see that the Texas legislature was reviewing whether or not Salinas should be a state holiday.
Oh, Selena's birthday or Selena's death?
No, Selena.
Saw her birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Texas Declaration of Independence, March 2nd, 1836. Document signed by 59 delegates, settlers in Mexican Texas. And
Baylor was started about 10 years later, while Texas was still an independent nation.
Is that right?
That's right. And Texas A&M was started 40 years later when Texas was already a state. So,
wow.
Sick 'em Bears.
Who knew?
I know. I have facts.
You do have facts.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Baylor was the only university formed while Texas was a country.
Really?
Yeah.
Who knew?
If I'm not correct, I bet the internet will correct me quickly.
Oh, that's probably right. So yeah, happy Texas Independence Day to everybody. I'm not sure exactly how you celebrate that. It seems silly to go eat fajitas and drink margaritas.
I don't know. We celebrate
Although
Cinco de Mayo, and that's a celebration of a defeat of Texas, isn't it?
No.
We don't know that's true, but
that's a fake Texas holiday.
That's a Mexican restaurant holiday.
That's a Mexican restaurant holiday. That's exactly right. So,
but Mardi Gras, and I was really torn because Mardi Gras is Tuesday.
Yes.
And so it's the big weekend for Mardi Gras this weekend. Lots of parades down in New Orleans.
Texarkana's Mardi Gras deal is going on over there on Front Street.
Yes.
I believe today.
Yeah. So
you got filled up on pancakes for Kiwanis this morning.
Yeah.
We didn't, but I assume y'all did. And then you can go over and have your fill of Mardi Gras fare over on Front Street.
Yeah. So good times, but yeah, no, I got the impression that you just remembered that I had looked up the cost of the pancake machine from Holiday Inn.
I did. As soon as you mentioned it, I thought about that. All right, here we're going back live.
Brought to you by this station and the Arkansas Broadcasters Association.
Have a question? Phone 903-793-1071. Now back to Aging Insight with John and Lisa.
Welcome back, everyone, to Aging Insight. I'm Lisa Scholmeyer. I'm here with John Ross, and today we're talking about housing considerations in retirement. And this, the catalyst for our talk today had to do with a viral social media post by a Mr. Robeson, who said that he and his wife were simply going to check into the Holiday Inn, and then he went through a lot of the amenities and the assistance that you can get at a Holiday Inn. So John, Mr. Robeson here is on the ball. I mean, he's thinking about things like transportation.
Yep.
He's thinking about things like meal preparation.
Yep, meal prep, transportation.
He's thinking about like entertainment and physical activity options.
Well, and a lot of the things that you take advantage or take for granted that we can do, like the home maintenance.
Right.
He mentions replacing light bulbs and fixing a broke toilet and things like that. All of that stuff, a lot of that stuff you can do yourself when you have the youthful abilities to do that.
Right.
But as you get older, those things can become certainly dangerous, if not impossible.
Right. So I think he's on track here, thinking about a lot of those things. Now, the other aspect about staying at the Holiday Inn that I appreciated he identified was that, gosh, they treat you like a customer and not a patient. So that's kind of a difference too that we see a little bit.
Right.
But that kind of got us to thinking about, obviously a Holiday Inn is not exactly set up to be a retirement home or living arrangement. Although, John, I think we've certainly mentioned a story in the past where a couple was basically living on a cruise ship.
Right.
For a lot of the same reasons.
Yeah. And when you start talking about, your active living, where you're still able to do lots of things and go out, and yet you don't want or at least are somewhat limited maybe in all of the day-to-day drudgery of meal preparation and things like that. Then you look around and when you start comparing the costs out there, this one couple, they were up in the Northeast somewhere where independent retirement living and assisted living.
It was
and
over
things
$100,000 a year.
Yeah, we're up into the $100,000 a year range, and they had compared that to what a low cost cruise line would cost, and had basically run very similar calculations, and had come up with that they could basically get on a cruise ship, and in fact did so. Got on a cruise ship, sold all their stuff, got on cruise ships, and they just went from port to port.
Yeah. So, and again, they had a room, maid service. They had every meal per day prepared for them. There was entertainment on the cruise ship, and on the cruise ship, there's even a doctor or a medical staff.
Yeah, they actually have medical staff.
So people certainly are thinking about that, because as I had a client tell me recently, John, she said, it's nice to own a house, but a house also owns you.
Right.
And she was recognizing that with her husband had passed, that the upkeep, the maintenance, the yard, everything was just really more than she wanted to do, and she was really getting into a position where she was going to have to pay for a lot of those services. And if you don't want to have to upkeep a yard, and you can't do it yourself, and you're paying for that, well, now you've just increased your monthly expense.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So these folks talking about living on cruise ships or living at the Holiday Inn, their brains are ticking, and I appreciate that,
Yeah.
So what kind of thought we talked today about a little more realistically, what kind of options are out there, and of course, if any of you have had any experience, maybe with friends or parents or anything, and choosing options, we'd certainly love to hear from you on our Aging Insight. But John, I first wanted to talk about, you were talking about people who are active.
Right.
And so I think we'll talk about that aspect first, because, we all know that sometimes medical needs drive where you need to be.
Sure.
But there's a lot of people who don't want to be owned by that house and just want to be active and enjoy life in retirement. And, there's a lot of options for that, but there's also some things to look out for. So,
yeah. All right. So we're going to take a bottom of the hour news break here in about 20 seconds. And so stick around until we get back from that. We'll talk about the active, and then we'll talk about some of the inactive, because, although this Terry guy had put some thought into it, he certainly was not thinking of it in the context of requiring some serious medical assistance.
Sure.
At that Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
That's a whole different deal. And yet you got all these cost issues. So we're going to talk about how to pay for it and all of that stuff in just a bit. All right, we're on our news break now. And I may in fact have me a Lone Star beer at some point in time today. Either that, or maybe I'm really more of a Shiner Bock kind of guy.
Mm.
Yeah, I do like a Shiner. Although a good old Lone Star, that makes me think of going to the Dixie Chicken in College Station, getting a Lone Star. In fact, I think the last time we were at the Dixie Chicken, I had your Louisiana family with me,
yeah.
and I made all of them drink Lone Stars.
Well, it's just because you can't get Dixie beer at the Dixie Chicken, which seems a little odd. You got to go Jack's in New Orleans to do that.
That's
So,
right.
But yeah, and it's so funny because not being a Texas native, being a Louisiana native, I did not have the benefit of my kids had the Texas history classes.
Right.
And apparently really, really good one. Shout out to Texas Middle School. The kids love their Texas history class. So I just have to roll with it. I don't know.
Yeah, you couldn't help them with their homework
No,
on the
but
Texas history.
if you want to talk about Jean Lafitte or something like that, I got you. But not so much stuff.
Yeah.
Stephen F. Austin, it's a university in Nacogdoches.
That's right. That's all you got.
That's about what I've got. I'm sorry.
But I guess I didn't really think about it as a child. I took Texas history, and in fact, I think there was a full year of it.
Yeah, you have to take it. I think it's 8th grade, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Didn't really think about it at the time, but I don't know how it is in other states. I mean, do they do a?
Yeah, well, we had a Louisiana history class. Although
But
I've
I mean,
always wondered,
But what
if you're in Wyoming,
right? Yeah, that's what I was about to say. What if you're in
is
Wyoming?
there a whole year of Wyoming history? I mean, because obviously Texas, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Virginia, lots of history relative to our nation.
Yeah, certainly.
But Wyoming, Idaho, I just don't know.
Right. Can you fill up a whole year worth of Idaho?
So if we have any internet viewers from
Idaho,
who
Wyoming.
are gonna unlike us now, but anyway, we it's just ignorance. It's not maliciousness. We just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Wyoming, you've got the national park system and stuff.
Yeah, but they didn't even become a state until 1900 something, right? I mean, I'm totally thinking I know that, but
it's part of the Louisiana Purchase. I mean, you could go all the way back to that.
I don't think so.
This goes all the way up. I don't know. All right. Well, we still got.
This is Aging Insight. This is not Moments in History.
Yes. Yeah, I texted one of the physicians yesterday in town to ask him if I could call him to ask him a medical question. I said because it was just a bit out of my area, and he texted me back. He said, "Yeah, sure, give me a call." He said, "But I didn't think there was anything that y'all didn't know." We may sound very intelligent when we're talking about our field of practice.
That's right. We stay in our lane.
Yes, step outside of that into things like American history or geography. Maybe not so much.
Maybe not. But
yeah. And but we did know it was Texas Independence Day. We knew that coming on the show.
We did.
So little baby steps. All right, we got about what is that? It's going to be about 30 seconds, I think, left until we get back live on the radio.
No.
Nope, a whole minute.
Yeah. I don't know, but I wonder. Of course, the post that we kind of started off with, Mr. Robeson's post. I wonder if the Holiday Inn would really let a senior couple. Once they understood it was kind of a long-term.
Yeah, I've noticed that Holiday Inn has been noticeably silent.
Yeah, they haven't said, yeah, come on, we'd love to host you. They probably don't want to turn their properties into a de facto senior living community.
Well, and the other interesting thing, and this is one thing I thought about just kind of perusing, I went to Terry Robeson's Facebook page.
Yeah.
And he, per his Facebook page, he's a very outspoken Republican.
Okay.
And so most of his posts
kind of the current politics.
And I wonder with the viralness of that, if he has gotten some blowback on
maybe so
on all the other stuff. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Aging Insight, everybody. This is your host, John Ross, here live in the studio with my co-host, Lisa Schollmeyer. And today we're talking about some housing ideas.
Okay. Yes. So, John, we don't see these commercials so much around here, but I know in Central Texas and Hill Country and other communities, there were these commercials and they show these seniors and they're playing doubles tennis.
Yes.
They're swinging a golf club. they're laughing over a dinner on a patio. And, isn't it like is it Del Weber's Sun City Retirement Communities?
Yeah, I think that's there's a huge one in Georgetown, Texas.
Yeah, I don't know how they're not a sponsor of this show. Hello.
Seriously.
Anyway, but that's just a particular chain or brand of active retirement communities. I know my dad lived in Florida, where senior active communities are everywhere, and these communities, they certainly advertise for an active retirement lifestyle. Lots of sports like shuffleboard and pools and
tennis courts to play that doubles tennis.
Yes.
Many of them have golf courses.
And the idea in these are called active retirement communities. Usually these communities are age restricted to 55 and up.
Mm-hmm.
Although younger family members are certainly allowed to come and visit, they aren't allowed to move in with you or stay there for an extended period. These type communities, they offer amenities. They certainly sell themselves as a luxury choice.
Yep.
And they often offer all different types of housing, whether it be a patio home, a standalone site-built home, a unit in a condominium tower, just all kinds of options there. And they do advertise themselves as active retirement communities. These communities themselves do not provide any type of medical support or medical assistance. This is simply you choosing to live with an age-based peer group.
Sure.
There's one community down in Central Florida. Let me think of the name of it. The Villages.
Okay.
That's the name of it.
Oh, is this the party one?
Yes, this is the one where they've had all these exposés about that. It's like being in college, where they say nobody has to get up to go to work the next day and nobody can get pregnant. So it's a party every day. But that's an active retirement community. So the deal with these is often you can buy a property in these communities if you meet the age criteria. There's usually some sort of initiation or entrance fee.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, they buy in because they've taken their retirement or sold their home back in their hometown community. And maybe they're buying that house and it's free and clear of any debt.
Sure.
So the unit they're purchasing is free and clear of debt. But John, the big deal in these communities is they definitely have association or community fees. Because those golf courses don't trim themselves, right?
Right, yeah, and that's where they, there are often, and depending on the property, those can range from a couple of $100 a month up into the thousands a month, depending on the level of luxury that you're talking about.
And so if you own a property in this community, you absolutely must pay these association or community fees. And regardless of your health status, regardless of your income status, those fees continue to accumulate and must be paid each month. But of course, these fees are where a lot of times your lawn service, if you own a site-built home in one of these communities, that fee is paying your lawn service. It's paying for the maintenance of all the facilities that you have the ability to use. So you are paying for something as long as you use it.
Right.
But what challenge has been is when people perhaps maybe a couple moved into that community, someone dies,
mm-hmm.
and so income has been reduced. Assets have been spent on an illness. A lot of times people find themselves unable to either use the facilities or even pay for the association community fees.
Right.
And John, it's not simple to get out of one of these properties.
Right, because of the restrictions on who can own, and you can't, you essentially cannot pass these down to your kids.
Yeah, so that's another issue. Your real estate investment cannot be passed to your kids unless they meet the criteria and they want to live there, which is, that would be unusual for both of those items to be met.
Right, and so yeah, you can end up in a situation where you're heavily invested here. You've dumped a chunk of your life savings into this property that you've now decided for whatever reason you want to get back out of.
Yeah, and there's usually an exit fee out of these properties as well, which is a fee that you pay to the developer
mm-hmm.
to actually get out and pass the title. And I know when I would visit my dad in his community there in Florida, there was a number of empty properties that, of course, you can't rent them out.
Right.
And the community fees were simply accumulating against those properties, and the heirs for owners that had passed away, they were selling these properties at a big loss just to get out from the accumulation of the community fees.
Yeah. So you can, if you are a relatively youthful, active, healthy retiree, and you like all of those sort of things, the one thing you've got to understand is having all of that stuff to do is only worth it if you like to do all of that stuff.
Yeah, no, if you're a stay home, do the crosswords, read books kind of person, doesn't seem like you'd be really getting your money's worth for living in an active retirement community surrounded by 9 golf courses.
Right. On the other hand, the other thing you've got to look at is, I just remember going down and visiting your dad there, and we had the kids, so we got the kids in tow, and of course there's the big pool.
Yes.
And nothing the grandkids like more than the idea of going to visit grandpa and having access to a pool that they can go swimming in. And of course you get to the pool and there's a giant sign that says no splashing.
Right. Because sometimes there are curmudgeons who live in active retirement communities.
Exactly. And not only is there the big sign that says no splashing,
there's an enforcer.
But there is some old crotchety person that's there seemingly for the sole purpose of making sure there's no splashing.
Yeah, to steal the joy of that 5-year-old. But those communities, if you are an active retiree, I will say that I know that my dad very much enjoyed living in that community, made great friends. I think they had great social times. They had classes from the community college on the property. They had karaoke, which my dad participated in every week. I mean, so for the right person, it's a great deal, but you just have to know what you're getting into. And you have to understand that this is not a medical support type community. And there are financial obligations in that community, even if you go into a property, a unit, debt free.
Yeah, no, that's right. So, if as we're comparing, all of that maybe to Mr. Robeson's idea of living in the Holiday Inn, he did point out a number of things. You've got all of these resources available to you. Now, you're not going to get all of those same resources. You're not going to get free shampoos put in your room every day.
No.
If you live at one of the independent living condos or apartments. I mean, like one of our sponsors, Cowhorn Creek Estates. That's essentially what they are, right? They're an independent living. They've got stuff to do. They provide food. So it's not all that dissimilar than moving into the Holiday Inn. And actually, just kind of as a curiosity, I know approximately what their rents are over there, and it varies by size of room.
Sure.
But for one of their smaller rooms, which would be akin to a Holiday Inn room, the price would actually be somewhat comparable to the Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
So, and I think you actually would get more in the way of services.
Yeah, I think so too.
And they do have some medical staff on deck. They're not a medical provider, but they do maintain some staffing. So, from that standpoint, although the Holiday Inn it's funny to think about, with the more and more of these independent living environments being built, these active retirement environments, whether it's the whole neighborhood or like some of those Dale whatever they are,
Weber.
Yeah, Dale Weber, those are practically cities.
Yeah, they are. Because Sun City in Georgetown, I think is what.
Yeah, Sun City in Georgetown.
Yeah, and then you see where Jimmy Buffett was? They're going to build Margaritaville.
Yeah, they're building a Margaritaville. It'll be essentially one of these whole cities themed.
I think it's going to be a party place like the Villages.
Well, if you're moving in for retirement into the Margaritaville,
yeah,
you certainly would you would think that that would be somebody who has already previously adopted that kind of ethos in their life.
Yeah, perhaps. So yeah. So anyway, that's one option, is an active retirement community. The costs are as much as you'd like to pay. And you know, if there's a price point, if you want to pay it. But that's one option. So John, let's take a break and we'll come back and talk about some other retirement living options that we see pretty commonly.
Sounds good. Stick around. You know, one thing Terry did not mention, he was talking about the Holiday Inn, right? Now, I spent 4 years with a high school soccer player.
Right.
Who not only played for the high school team, but also played for a travel soccer team. And the high school went all through the spring. That was the soccer season. And as soon as that was over, you'd have a break or two in the very hottest months of the summer. And then you'd pick back up with the travel soccer, the club league, and that would carry you all through the fall.
Right.
And you know what we did is in both of those situations, we went from Holiday Inn to Holiday Inn.
Right.
Now, it may sound like all fun and games to be staying in that Holiday Inn until 25 14-year-old girls are on your floor.
Right.
Or
the 10 and under little league team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, yeah, you know, there are a lot of downsides to hotel rooms that I don't think Terry mentioned.
Well, you know, years ago, John, I actually stayed at the Four Seasons in Houston for about 6 months.
Okay.
Now, granted, a little bit different service level than the Holiday Inn.
Certainly.
But I was working on a big case, and the client put me up at the Four Seasons, and it got to where I was there every week. And so, yes, I would check out on Friday, and I would check back in on Sunday. But I got to where I'd get the same hotel room. Mm-hmm. And one of the hotel rooms that I got to where I picked was one that was behind the elevators.
Mm.
So it was pretty awesome because there weren't rooms like right there next door. But, you know, it took me a while to land on that and figure that out. And of course, you know, when you keep staying there at the Four Seasons, then after a while there would be a fruit basket or flowers and a little nice written card of thank you for your stay. But again, different circumstance. You know, I wasn't trying to discount it all. The client was paying for it, big international person, and you know, but it was nice.
Yeah.
I didn't have problems of little league teams running up and down the hall.
No, probably not at the Four Seasons.
Yeah, but I bet that would defeat Mr. Robeson's economics.
yeah. That you know, you just never know who you're going to get as a next door neighbor in a hotel room.
Yeah. And in fact, the Four Seasons actually did have a condo tower kind of attached to it, mm-hmm. where people lived there, but they were able to use the services and all of the Four Seasons hotel.
Yeah, and there are a number of those long-term stay, and I think, you know, there is certainly that you could actually do that if you're talking about just some youthful, not as a permanent necessarily, yeah. But anyway, all right, we're going back live. Here we go.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to our final segment on today's Aging Insight. I'm Lisa Scholmeyer, and I'm here with John Ross. And today we're talking about retirement living options. Mr. Robeson suggested the Holiday Inn.
That's right.
We've also talked about active retirement communities. And John, these active retirement communities are what we call want-based communities. You know, they're a golf-centered community, or they're whatever the tennis or whatnot, but people want them. They come across very luxurious. They usually have these fabulous clubhouses with the chandelier and, you know, all that stuff. So they do sell themselves as a luxury point community. Although when you kind of peel that back, a lot of times it's not quite what it seems.
Yeah, no, they do have some issues, and they, you know, they do come, as you mentioned, they come at a price point there that you do have to factor in. But as you say, they're want to.
Yeah.
You know, and I will say, in comparison to the want to retirement living communities. If you're looking at the cost of those, your monthly outflow and things like that, plus your initial investments and how hard it is to get back out of them, if you were comparing those to Mr. Robeson's idea of basically bouncing from hotel to hotel, right? You get a 6-month stay, long-term stay at a Holiday Inn in whatever city you want to live in. You live there for 6 months at your senior discounted long-term stay discounted rate,
Right.
where you do have a lot of those amenities day to day taken care of. You don't have to worry about anything. And when you're, after the end of the 6 months, you pack up, you move to a new town.
Right.
That's actually, if you're talking about the want to environment and you're comparing something like that idea to moving into one of these retirement communities, and frankly, even comparing that to, say, selling everything and moving into an RV,
Right.
and cruising around the country. These are all essentially the same concepts.
Right. Yeah. That you're physically able, your health will support these choices, and financially, whatever choice and whatever price point you've chosen to live, that you can do that as well.
Yeah. The problem is that, like in Mr. Robeson's post, the very first line of his post was no nursing home for us.
Right. So the deal is, if we didn't need nursing homes or skilled nursing facilities, they wouldn't be around.
That's exactly right.
The reality is that at some point or another, we may all have some health challenges, mobility challenges, perhaps cognitive challenges that make it impossible for us to live in some of the community choices we just discussed.
Right. Whether it's the Holiday Inn or whether it's one of these others, those are all, as Lisa said, want to.
So sometimes we get to a point where we have a need to. We need to live in a certain, residence environment. And need to may be as simple as an independent retirement community, not necessarily the active lifestyle part, but an independent retirement community where I like to say there's just more presence, where you're not alone in your home having to cook yourself a meal, but you're in an independent retirement community and perhaps an apartment where, they do have a security guard and a front desk receptionist, and maybe they offer one prepared meal each day, and you have a little microwave and a fridge and things. But
often transportation to and from medical services on a daily basis.
Options. So that is more of a need to, if you need more presence. And then, of course, John, so that's independent retirement living. Then, of course, we get to assisted living. And assisted living is a health supportive community for the resident who needs some assistance, whether that assistance is in the area of medication management, in the area of maybe hygiene management. Maybe there's some incontinence issues or some issues with dressing and things like that. But you're not bedbound or anything like that. You just need that extra assistance. You need all your meals prepared every day. Right. Maybe due to physical limitations, due to cognitive limitations. So assisted living is a different type of retirement living that is usually a need-based. Most people don't move into assisted because they want to. They're moving there because they need to.
That's right. And that certainly then applies to your higher level of care of your nursing home type care, your what they call skilled nursing or nursing homes. Just to go into to be able to stay at a nursing home is going to actually require a physician order.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not that Mr. Robeson couldn't decide that he just wanted to move into the local Golden Years nursing facility. A doctor has to say that you need that level of medical care.
That's right. And because you need that level of medical care, then there is going to be a lot of medical care that you are using. And so, the funny thing here is, like, Mr. Robeson's comparing the $180 a day that the nursing home would cost versus the what he says is $60 a day for the Holiday Inn. I think that's probably on the low side.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's probably going to be upwards of around $100
yeah.
a day if I were guessing. But even if we just go with his $60 a day, if you're talking about comparing that to actual nursing home care, now, I mean, think about it from the nursing home standpoint. You're getting not one meal a day, you're getting 3 meals a day. You have actual medical professionals checking on you on a day-to-day basis. You've got people that are managing your health care. They're ordering your prescription drugs for you. They're dispensing those things for you. If you cannot bathe yourself, they're bathing for you.
There's a managing physician that's on call 24/7 to address any of your healthcare needs.
Right. And so when you start looking at all of that and what they're paying for all of that, what the facility has to, what they're incurring in the way of costs versus what they're charging for that service. Around here, nursing home will run you $160 a day. A middle of the road hotel in Dallas will cost you $160.
Sure. Yeah.
And certainly a lot more than that if you get up into the higher end places. And if you're comparing what you're getting at $160 for that nursing home versus what you're getting for that $160 at your average hotel stay, there's really no comparison between the two.
Right. And this all goes back to, John, that some of our listeners are, they're probably thinking, well, I don't want to leave my house. I would never live in one of those, high-end retirement villages anyway. But hey, that's great. But Aging Insight is really all about sparking your thought processes for you to think about choices that you may need to make later in your aging process. We always talk about, if you want to stay in your home, if you're happy as a clam, 10 miles outside of town in the country, kind of on your granddaddy's land that you built your house on some time ago, hey, we think that's just fabulous. But recognize that you may come to a point where you need some support, and what kind of support are you going to need to stay in your home?
That's right. And so, yeah, like Terry here, he sat down and he started putting pen to paper.
Yeah, and he started thinking about the Holiday Inn.
A bit misguided, because he was comparing nursing home care to essentially want-to type independent living. But you should be thinking about this same thing as well, because, again, whatever it is that you have envisioned for yourself, you're going to need to know how you're going to pay for it. If you want to stay at that home out there 10 miles outside of Hope on an old country road until you just fall over dead, that's great. But there's going to be, unless you just die early, there's going to be a period of time where you can't do it the way you're doing it now.
Right. You're going to need that support. So put that pen to paper. And one of the things I always say, John, is don't be unrealistic. So many folks are unrealistic. Play with it and do your research.
That's right. So hope you enjoyed today's show. I also hope to see all of you that are listening out there over at the Texarkana Convention Center on the Texas side. This Thursday at noon, just go onto our Facebook page and you can sign up, and that way we know you're coming.
Or call the office at RSVP, but we have to know so we have enough lunch.
That's right. Until next week, I hope y'all have a good week. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
And we'll see all of y'all as well. Have a good one.